Hi, this is Amos Tarfa, and in this video I want to talk to you about some problems with our current engineering school statistics. About 50% of students, it says from the research, they say about 50% of students in American engineering schools will graduate, right? 50%. Well, that's not very good. We need to look at the reasons and then raise the bar. And actually, while we're looking at the reasons for engineering students, why don't we look at medical students and those who are sort of pre-med track, right? How can we better equip engineering and medical students? So my name is Amos Tarfa, as I said, Amos the math guy, and I have a degree in chemistry. My bachelor's was in chemistry and philosophy, minor in philosophy, and then my master's was in medical physics and medical health physics. I've also completed a year in a PhD program in chemistry and STEM education. And in this video, I want to talk to you about how to prepare students for their different career fields. This video is broken into a few segments. So we're going to talk about overall career prep, and then we're going to talk about engineering prep specifically, and then we're going to talk about medical school prep. And this is for students in 6th to 12th grade, or students who are already in college trying to figure out what to do with their lives. But even if you have somebody in 6th to 12th grade, I could give you some guidelines and goals to keep in mind. So parents, I hope this is helpful. And then yeah, please feel free to share this video with others. I have written math curriculum now for over 12 years in just general math and algebra 2, K-12 math and remedial math. So let's start from the top. One of the biggest mistakes in American education today, I would argue, is this idea that you don't have to choose a major until you get to college. And in some cases, they tell you don't have to choose a major until your third year of college. That is all not good, not good. We need to start helping people figure out what they want to do with their lives at a younger age. Now, this is not forcing them necessarily, but this is giving them some direction. So let me grab my first set of books. So these are my first set of books right here. Career Planning for Teens. The Young Adult's Guide to Career Planning. Life Skills for Teens. Strength Finders. And then careers, right? These are just resources that can be used to help people navigate the beginning of this discussion. Right from when you're still in 3rd or 4th grade, you can have an idea of what direction you want to go with your life. For example, I liked numbers. I loved paper. I loved writing. You could tell that education was in my path, like that in my goal for life. I liked science a lot, and I loved math, or I did very well at math by God's grace growing up. And so you could look at my life and go, yeah, I think there's some directions this person might go. In high school, I ended up being the president of the science club. In elementary school, I ended up memorizing the scientific names of like 20 to 30 different things for an event where I never actually got to present because there was no time. But isn't that sad? Anyways, but why don't we help people start thinking about what's in your toolkit? And this is part of what I do. So if you want to discuss this with your student, you want me to discuss it with you and your student, please reach out to Amos the Math Guy at gmail.com, amosthemathguy@gmail.com. So that's the first set here. We need to help people have some direction. So let's say we've done that, and then we realize that John and Peter or Cynthia and Jane are good at they want to go into engineering. They love math and they love physics and they want to go into engineering. Okay, what does that look like? Well, engineering is a big field. There's a lot of different branches of engineering, but here are some resources I'm going to pull here regarding engineering. So the first one is actually from a gentleman who has a YouTube channel that talks about this 50% like dropout rate, and part of why that 50% is there is because the moral of the story of that, and I'll link his video in the description, but the moral of the story is that there are too many students who are coming from a weaker math background, a weaker STEM background, and then going into engineering school, and it's just not working out. There's sort of this progression that happens when you're in the K-12 space, and then when you get to college, that progression is not at the same sort of slope, so to speak. And so he wrote a book called Becoming an Engineer, right? The Average Person's Guide to Getting Good Grades and Succeeding in Engineering, and then he actually said STEM school. That's what he put for his book here. There's another book here called A Beginner's Guide for Aspiring Engineers, so engineering for teens. So this is another resource that we can use with students. We could talk about the different branches of engineering. One of the ones that I'll focus on today is mechanical engineering, but this is a good guide for engineering for teenagers. 6th to 12th graders could be thinking about engineering. One of the main skills engineers need these days, especially, has to do with coding, right? It's good to know how to code and deal with different machines that the engineers are working on. So that's the coding book. One of my favorite fields of engineering is aeronautical engineering, right? And the idea of rockets and space. So this is part of what I'll be discussing in my engineering program that I'm doing in collaboration with a friend of mine who's an engineering professor. This is just called Mathematics for Machine Learning. Again, we're talking about 2024 and the things that are happening before us, and that's where we need to be very good with programming. So no matter what branch of engineering you go into, it'll be a good idea to make sure that you are comfortable with programming. So let's talk briefly about what it takes to succeed in engineering school. Solid mathematical background. I'll talk about the different branches of engineering in a second, but what I do for all my students is that I make sure that all of them can get to calculus as soon as possible. Why is it important that students get to calculus? Because if you know how to do calculus, there's almost no limit for what you can do. And so we want to help students to learn calculus. And how do we do this at an early age? How do we get them to calculus in 8th or 9th grade? Well, we don't take summer breaks in math. We keep a consistent plan with their math learning. You would notice that countries like Singapore or Nigeria do not take extensive periods of breaks when it comes to mathematics. So we look at Singapore, we look at Nigeria, and we see that if we want our students to excel and have a solid base, they should not take summers off. So if you want to be an engineer or a doctor, one thing you cannot do is take summers off from math and science, so that, well, actually math especially. If your math is solid, we'll figure out the chemistry and the physics as we go, but the math we need to be solid. And so what I've done is I've created summer learning programs, or you could just take any of my math courses and go through them in the summer in an accelerated fashion, or use them to review, so then in the fall you're not starting from scratch again. You can keep going. Now, quick plug, we do have a connection with the university in Texas that allows our students to get up to 60 college credits before they ever graduate high school. So they could get that in their math and their science courses, as well as English and history. So stay tuned for that. Reach out to amosthemathguy@gmail.com and I'll send you a list of the courses and how to sign up for that program. I also have my book here called Tools for Mastering Mathematics, which I'll be happy to send to you if you just send me an email at amosthemathguy@gmail.com. My book talks about how to be very good at math. Okay, so where do we go from here? Before I go on, I want to say this. No matter what field of study you want to go into, you might face roadblocks. And so it's important to have books that can help inspire you when you hit those roadblocks. You also want to have very good study skills. And so when it comes to study skills, these are 3 books that you can add to your repertoire. This one is called Peak, How All of Us Can Achieve Extraordinary Things. This one is called How to Be a High School Superstar by Dr. Cal Newport, who's a computer scientist. And the last one is called Learning How to Learn. If you have these tools, and then there's actually one I don't have here called Make It Stick. But if you add that here, if you have those 4 books, your study skills will be exceptional and you'll be on your way to being an engineer or doctor. Inspiration. We need inspiration. And so that's where I have books like Tom Ziegler's book, Choose to Win. I have C.S. Lewis, The Abolition of Man, where he shows us the beginning of the problems of modern education. I have Leonard Ravenhill's book here called Why Revival Tarries. That's just a great resource about what life is really about. We have Margin by Dr. Richard Swenson. We have Go Big by the Dude Perfect Boys. And then we have David McCullough, the Wright brothers. Why do I have these books? Why are these books part of my repertoire in today's discussions? Because part of what it takes to become an engineer or a doctor is the learning how to fight through adversity and difficulty. So let's wrap up the video with one major branch of engineering, and then we'll go from there in our next video. The major branch of engineering I want to focus on is mechanical engineering. Remember when I showed us the rocket and I made the comment I made about how I love aeronautical engineering? So mechanical engineering is very versatile. You can use it in different fields. Some people can use it in robotics engineering, they can use it in aeronautical engineering, or some people use it in mechanical engineering, in car manufacturing, or other types of, think of fields of engineering where movement is occurring, right? There's a different type of engineering where we deal with structures that stand, like civil engineering, civil and environmental engineering. So if you want to be a mechanical engineer, you want to make sure that you're solid with math, you're solid with chemistry and physics, as well as an understanding of thermodynamics, fluid mechanics, heat transfer, and those are some of the courses that are taught at LeTourneau University, but also in many universities around the nation that have mechanical engineering. So stay tuned for more videos on different fields of study. I hope this has been encouraging. I look forward to doing more videos on this. The one thing I'll say about medicine, of course, is that it also has a lot of branches, and we'll talk about that in my next video. But for engineering, we have aeronautical engineering, which is closely connected to the mechanical engineering. We have electrical engineering, industrial engineering. We can go on and on, but those are some of the branches that are discussed in the books that I have here. So stay tuned for my video series on engineering specifically, and how to help your 5th grader, 6th grader, 10th grader, 12th grader to be thinking ahead in becoming a world-class engineer. Thanks for watching, and have a blessed day.